Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you had a really great day trading today. So today was Monday, November 18th, and the sentiment on the market was cautious today. We did see an attempt to rebound across the board, but there was a noticeable air of caution. So SPY did open today flat, and we took it immediately up to almost to the top of the implied move at 590. This 35 EMA was right here, pushing us back down, and we stayed right between the 30-minute 200 moving average and the 35 EMA. So we did stay completely within the implied move here. SPX, same thing. We did open flat and then we took it right up to the top of the implied move. This almost hit the top of the implied move. It was a few pennies away. And then this 35 EMA was right there, pushing us back down. We bounced on the 30-minute 200 moving average and we stayed right between these two levels. For the entire day, we did trade on the green side of the implied move today. So you could see we tried to see a rebound here off the 1 hour 200 moving average, and SPY did close up 0.41%, SPX up 0.39%, VIX down today 3.47%, and we did stay completely within the implied move today. You could see today we did play out that oversold bounce right here, and it was pretty interesting that we did bounce on that election gap from last week right here. So that 1 hour 200 moving average was right there, and it pulled us right back up, and then we did get resistance at that 35 EMA. Projected outward, that 35 EMA looks like it hits a make it or break it level here, where if we don't bounce right here, then we will see more downside. All right, and then QQQ. We did open today with a small gap up. We got back above the 1 hour 200 moving average. From there, took it to the top of the implied move right here. We did tap it to the penny. 35 EMA was right there. You could see right here that make it or break it level with the moving averages. That 35 EMA was right there. Pushed us down, and the 30-minute 200 moving average pushed us down as well. So 35 EMA, top of the implied move, 30-minute 200 moving average. We got smacked down with those three levels, and we did close up today 0.69%. VXN closed down 0.3%, and we did stay completely within the implied move here. So remember, we did bounce in this election triple gap, this down gap right here. We had another up gap right here and this up gap, and we did have a technical bounce within that gap to bring it back up, and now we need to either bounce here, or if this 35 EMA crosses down, then we will see more downside. IWM, we did open over here flat, and it was a pretty sideways day today here. We stayed wrapped around the 30-minute 200 moving average. So we opened flat, came up above the 30-minute 200 moving average, and then we got hit right underneath that 35 EMA. So we came back down and closed underneath the 30-minute 200 moving average. Again, right here, make it or break it level in tomorrow's trading session. If we see this 35 EMA cross underneath the 30-minute 200 moving average, then this might be a bear flag that plays out and takes us down lower. Looks like that would be a 50-day moving average hit if that did play out that way. And that would close out the election gap, and that's looking a little bit ahead, but keep an eye on these two moving averages right here. If we get above them, then they could turn into support, but if they hold as resistance, then we will definitely see lower, and closing this election gap would be on the table. IWM closed up today 0.2%, VX up 2.37%, and we did stay completely within the implied move today. And lastly, DIA. DIA had a very, very flat day. We closed down in DIA, down 0.07%. And today we opened flat and we stayed flat. We were held up by this election gap, got into it just a little bit, but for the most part, we traded sideways today. Definitely a cautious day for the Dow. So definitely within the implied move. And DIA did close down 0.07%. and we did stay within the implied move here. So that was a recap of today. Let's go check out tomorrow's levels. Alright guys, so before we head into tomorrow's trading ranges, if you find these videos useful, if they help you to choose better strikes and take better trades, and you love how I break it down every night, then please make sure to give this video a like. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out when I do post new videos. If you have any questions, leave me a comment, and I apologize for anyone that I haven't returned comments to. YouTube changed the comment format and now they're a little bit harder to find, but I'm working on that and I'll get back to you really shortly. And if you want to help support my channel, there's two really easy ways to do that. The first way is share this channel. Share it everywhere. Share it on X, share it on Discord, share it on StockTwits, anywhere else you share videos about trading. And the other way is that thank you button. If you took a really awesome trade and you know it's because of something you learned here, then using that thank you button really helps my channel to grow and allows me to bring you more content. So starting in SPY, tomorrow's implied move is between 584 and 592, and that is from options. The 30-day average volatility is $3 wider in each direction, 581 to 595. And then the implied move on Wednesday's contract, 582 to 595. To the upside, the first level to look for is going to be this 35 EMA. We did come up today, and the 35 EMA is what brought us back down. But if we do get above that level, then 592 is the top of the implied move, and that would take us right into this island top gap. So that would be this down gap from last week. This was on Friday after 2 days of inflation data, and then this is the up gap right after. It wasn't right after the election. This was the first election gap. Then we pushed up and then gapped up again. So we have this up gap, this down gap, and the top of the implied move is right in there. So tomorrow we will be trading between two battle zones. That is the one to the upside. Then 595 is the top of the implied move on Wednesday's contract. Because there is such a disconnect right here with the strikes, a lot of times you'll see 592 and then the next day will be 593. But Wednesday, it looks like there's going to be a little bit more volatility. So if we do get to the top of the implied move, I would look a little bit further out, or somewhere maybe between the 592 and 595 on the day. And then to the downside, we do have the 30-minute 200 moving average. We really stayed between the 35 EMA and the 30-minute 200 moving average, and you could see it's going to break one way or the other in the next 2 days. And then underneath that, we have the 1 hour 200 moving average. That is where we bounced today. Sorry, I think that was Friday that we bounced there. Yeah, it was Friday and then today. So 1 hour 200 moving average, we opened right above that and then pushed up. But we did see that as support. That is right at the bottom of the implied move, 584. And then underneath all of that, we have our second battle zone, which is going to be this down gap right here and this up gap right here. We did bring it all the way back down to that first election gap, and that is where we bounced today. So again, 584 bottom of the implied move for tomorrow, 582 bottom of the implied move on Wednesday's contract. So if we do get down to the bottom here, I would push it out another strike. So maybe 583, especially if you're selling premium. And then SPX. SPX, the implied move for tomorrow, 58.60 to 59.30, and that is from options. The 30-day average volatility, 58.25 to 59.60, and then the implied move on Wednesday's contract, 58.30 to 59.55, and to the upside, 35 EMA. And if we do get above that tomorrow, We do have this green signal right here, so we could possibly get above this 35 EMA, and then from there, the top of the implied move is 59.30, 59.55 on Wednesday's contract, and here we also have that up gap and then that down gap. So we've got an island top right here. That is a battle zone gap. They do tend to pull price in, and we are between two of them right now. So then underneath us, 30-minute 200 moving average. Underneath that, 1 hour 200 moving average. You might even use the bottom right here. So it pretty much lines up with the bottom of the implied move, 58.60. That was our previous support on the 1 hour 200 moving average. And then underneath that, 58.30 is the bottom of the implied move on Wednesday's contract. So if we did get down here, I would pop it out a strike, maybe even more than that. I think that we would bounce on the 1 hour 200 moving average on the day, but just because these two are disconnected so much, I would maybe look to see if there's decent premium around here. And then, so underneath that, this is the election gap, and then we had a down gap right here just before the election, a few days before that. So I wouldn't say it's a difficult trading range, maybe a little bit more tricky than what we've been seeing, but just know the levels that we have on here, and with something like this island top, where they overlap to the far side, so like 59.45 would be where resistance would be on this. So then taking it over to QQQ. The implied move for QQQ tomorrow, 496 to 505, and that is from options. 30-day average volatility is a few dollars wider, 493 to 506. So then on Wednesday's contract, 492 to 508, and to the upside, we've got this 35 EMA and 30-minute 200 moving average. This is a make it or break it level. This 35 EMA, if it bounces right here on that 30-minute 200 moving average, then this will have been just a pullback in an uptrend. You could see we are making still higher lows and higher highs, so we are still technically in an uptrend. And if this 35 EMA bounces here, then we may continue that. But and 505 is the top of the implied move. 508 is the top of the implied move on Wednesday's contract. So big difference here as well. We've got an island top battle gap right here, and the top of this is at just a little bit over 508. So that's where we would see resistance on this. And underneath, we have the 1 hour 200 moving average. So we bounced on this election gap, triple gap. So this was up gap, down gap, and then up gap. We filled the top two and we bounced right here. And in doing so, we got underneath the 1 hour 200 moving average. And then today we got back above the 1 hour, rejected at the 30-minute. So because of where we closed, we are technically on the 1 hour time frame right now, and just about to either lose this time frame, or again, if we bounce here, then we will continue upward. The rest of this gap right here actually is within the implied move for Wednesday, so that's really interesting. The bottom of that gap is at 492. And I said on SPX that these trading ranges don't look too difficult, but they do look a little bit wild. And then IWM, the implied move over here, 226 to 231, that's from options. 30-day average volatility is quite a bit wider, 224 to 235, and 225 to 232 on Wednesday's contract. And to the upside, we have both the 30-minute 200 moving average and the 35 EMA. This is going to be in focus tomorrow. We will break one way or the other here tomorrow, and if we get above the 30-minute 200 moving average, then the next level is that 35 EMA. And then if we get above that 35 EMA, 231 is the top of the implied move, and then 232 is the top of the implied move on Wednesday's contract. Underneath us, if we do see this 30-minute 200 moving average as a resistance, then we have the 1 hour 200 moving average. That is within the rest of this election gap that we did fill partially last week. So 1 hour 200 moving average through there. 226 is the bottom of the implied move. 225 is the bottom of the implied move on Wednesday's contract. And then the bottom of this election gap is right at the bottom of the trading range. That's 224. So definitely a wild time over here. And DIA. So DIA tomorrow, the implied move is between 428 and 440. So that is almost the entire implied move for the week. First level of the upside is this 35 EMA. And if we do get above that, then 440 is the top of the implied move. Underneath us, 30-minute 200 moving average. And we are in the election gap. There is a down gap right here, and then the up gap right here. So this level right here is going to be in focus and likely targeted. The bottom of that down gap is 427, and the top of this up gap we have been seeing as support. That we may see a follow through with that. We have a green signal line over here, and if we get back above the 35 EMA, that would put us back into another upswing here. So there you have it, guys. Everything you need to know about tomorrow's technicals. Have fun, trade safe, make sure you take profits when you're up, and I will see you guys